Hello everybody, it's jrobi going to be taking you through a match here I had recently that involves a queen promotion through a king walk and then queen king checkmate near the end. It was a pretty good match. My rating has been going down a little bit lately as I've been trying new openings, so such is how it is when you're learning, right? I'm not too worried about it though. Okay, so we'll get started here. I'm jrobi and I'm white. So it goes e4, and then opponent plays e6. So I go to d4, making a grab for the center. And instead of moving up the c pawn here, I just go up here. And my thoughts were, if he takes the pawn here, then I'll take back and we'll both have lost a center pawn. So I wouldn't be in a position of losing a center pawn for like a c file pawn or an f file pawn. So from here my opponent plays d6, and I just take the center pawn now, and he takes with his bishop. I was pretty sure he would take with his bishop then. He could have used his f-pawn to do that, but that would have exposed his king pretty early in the game, and this is probably his ideal castle position, as this side here is already opened up a little bit. So he uses his bishop, and I go now knight to c3. He plays pawn to a6, and I go knight to f3. So I got my knights out on the board. My bishop has access here, and my queen has access as well, and my other bishop. So I'm pretty happy with my position so far. My opponent's got access for his knight to come out. His queen has a couple diagonals to make use of, and his bishop is a little bit locked in. This knight can still come out on these two squares. So it's it's still fairly open for both players. So from here my opponent plays f6 with his knight, and I pin that knight down to the queen, and he goes now bishop to e7. He doesn't have a lot of choices with his bishop, so what he's basically unpinning the knight from the queen. So I go in now knight to outpost, and from this position here my knight is threatening a couple things. Sometimes could be an eventual fork here. Currently attacking the bishop and the knight. So my opponent decides to take, and I take back with the pawn. The queen's still supporting the pawn here. So my opponent now takes the bishop, and I take his bishop in return. Now he uses his f-pawn. So he's got 3 pawns in this island here, and then he's got these 2 smaller islands over here. So quick pawn count, he's got 7 and I've got 6, so I'm down a pawn currently. So I play bishop now to d3, and he castles. So I go now knight takes bishop and queen takes knight, and basically the reason that I wanted to do that is because with a bishop queen combination here, I was thinking that I'd like to get this bishop off the table to allow me to use more diagonals into that castle position. So I just take it. And now I go queen to e2, attacking this weak pawn here. And he comes down now and takes my weak g pawn. So I castle, preventing him from coming in and taking the rook. And really he can't take either of these pawns at the moment either. So he now plays knight to c6, and I take that weak pawn and put a check. And he moves his king to h8. And now I go bishop attacks queen, because I didn't want this rook coming down here. So in order to alleviate that, what my thinking was he'll move his queen, and then I would slide back and take the knight. I would double up his pawns here for the endgame. However, he goes rook to e8 for queen trade. So I go ahead and do that, and then I come back and take the knight anyway, and double up the pawns. My ranking is not that great. I'm still learning the game and making improvements. But one thing I've noticed in rook endgames is that pawns are just absolutely essential. And if you have doubled up pawns, I've learned that you can really capitalize on an opponent's doubled up pawns by, say, blocking it with a king or using one pawn to block 2. So it was a good trade, I thought, at the time. If you guys think any differently, I'd be more than happy to hear your feedback on that. So now I go rook to e1, attacking his rook. I want to clear another set of rooks off the table so that we can get right down to the pawn rook endgame. He doesn't want to do that though, so I move my rook now up to d2, and he goes to d5 with his pawn. Now I line up my rooks on the same file, and I'm going to try to pressure the rook trade. And this time he agrees, and he protects his weak pawn here on c6. So I start to march up this pawn as a distraction, and I know I'm going to lose it, and I just take back. But now what I've done is I've opened up a bigger play area for my rook. So if we go back to where it was, around here, my rook didn't have a lot of play area to work with. This pawn is now protected by the rook, and this square is taken away from my rook, this square is taken away, this square is taken away, this square is taken away. So really the rook is kind of in a, he's in a position where it takes a lot of moves to get things done, from here, etc. So what I decided to do was sacrifice the f-pawn to open things up, allowing me to use a check if I needed to, things like that. So from here now, I land the check, and he peels his king off, and that lets me slide over to the a file to attack this weak pawn. So he goes pawn now to to c3, and he's trying to separate the doubled up pawns, but what I do is I just take here, double up my pawns, and he takes back, so now they're doubled up again. Now let's see if that was a good move for him. Here, if I take here, yeah, I guess either way it's not going to be that great. So anyway, doubles up the pawns again, which is good from my perspective. I take that weak pawn now, and he moves his up forward, allowing me access to hit this weak pawn over here. So I do, and he goes now to attack my a2 pawn. So I just move my rook, put him in check, and move my king to b1. The rook's being protected by the pawn, and the king can't come into the pawn. However, I kind of lose interest in protecting that pawn anymore, so I start to work on the double pawns here, and he takes that pawn. And from here, what I do is I just try to, it's kind of funny actually, in this position here I thought I'd want to get my rook out into this area to get some checks if I needed to. But then around here I decided that I wanted to work with the rook and king combo, so I actually do a whole loop around the board and come back down. So from here now he goes king to b6, and now I start to use the king in conjunction with the rook. And basically I offer up a rook trade now. I'm up 2 pawns, so I want to get the rooks off the table. He doesn't want to do that though, so I know I'm going to have to force it somehow. So he comes in, puts me in check, and moves his rook to b6, and I offer up the rook exchange again. He declines, puts me in check, so I fall back to b3, and now he moves his king back, and this lets me force the rook trade. So he has no choice now but to lose the rooks. And from here, it's the king pawn walk up to the end for promotion. So with king pawn walks, you always have to make sure that your opponent has a square to flee to. So we go through that, and then promote. And then from this position here, I just use, actually, it looks very much like a rook check. So I just get the king and the kings facing off from each other. He moves now to a6, which is, now he can't move down any farther, so the next move he has to move up. So I just move my pawn up 1, kind of as a waiting move, and he has to move back now, and then that lets me land a check that's very similar to the rook. Well, it's exactly how you would do a rook king checkmate. So it was a good match, and it was I enjoyed the ending, and it's always nice to do a pawn king walk and promote and land the checkmate. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Take care.